Service connection for obstructive sleep apnea to include due to lumbosacral strain and or generalized anxiety disorder with panic disorder and major depressive disorder with anxious distress. So that's the way the claim was filed. And then my 2 cents on that is it's a little confusing for me. There's a back strain, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, major depressive disorder, and anxious distress. Those are 5 different things. You know, you need a nexus, you need to nail these things down. I think I may understand why it was done this way, but personally, this isn't the way I wouldn't have filed the claim. This is the stick it up against the wall. This is a secondary service connection claim for sleep apnea, so it's like, cool, hook it on to any of these things. So service connection may be granted for a disability which began in military service or was caused by some event or experience in service. This is covered under 38 CFR 3.303. Like literally copy, paste, and put it in Google, and you will go find that law. Service connection. Oops, I'm scrolling up a little bit too high. Sorry. Service connection may be granted for a disease or injury which resulted from a service-connected disability or was aggravated thereby. The evidence does not show that obstructive sleep apnea is related to the service-connected condition of generalized anxiety disorder with panic disorder and major depressive disorder with anxious distress and or lumbosacral strain, nor is the evidence of this disability during military service. These are covered under 38 CFR. This is 3.303 again, 38 CFR 3.304, and then 38 CFR 3.310. And this may be like this because that's just the way it is in the records from a long time ago or something. So I didn't look at this claim, and I don't work on cases and stuff. I'm just out here trying to throw you guys a bone. So this claim was filed as a secondary to everything that was service connected, it looks like. When you're doing this, you need to have a nexus, and it spells it out here. We're going to get there. Best way to do this is to get a nexus letter from a doctor. If you're going to try to do this to 5 different things, that's kind of 5 nexus letters. That's 5 times more expensive. All you need is one, and you need to stick it once and win it. So I would personally focus this down to one disability. You're going to want your private doctor to confirm the diagnosis or give you a diagnosis of obstructive sleep apnea. I'm assuming the veteran already had the sleep study and has a CPAP machine. So reconfirming the diagnosis would be good. The severity of symptoms isn't so important because all you really need is a CPAP machine, but do that anyway. Don't give them any room to move. And then more importantly, have your doctor write the nexus that says something just like this. Let me scroll the whole thing. In my opinion, this veteran's obstructive sleep apnea was aggravated by his major depressive disorder on at least as likely as not basis. There's more, but that's basically what a nexus is. And you use this at least as likely as not verbiage. That's just VA talk. The evidence does not show an event, disease, or injury in service. This is 38 CFR 3.303 and 3.304. Your service treatment records do not contain complaints, treatment, or diagnosis for this condition. Of course not. That's usually never happens. You claim this condition as due to obesity, weight gain, resulting from service-connected generalized anxiety disorder and or lumbosacral strain. Per VA regulations, obesity per se is not a disease or injury and therefore may not be service-connected on a direct basis. This is a U.S. code, and I guess the OCR got screwed up, but this is supposed to be USC. So obesity cannot qualify as an in-service event because it occurs over time and is based on various external and internal factors. as opposed to being a discrete incident or occurrence, or series of discrete incidences or occurrences. So this is the first thing that you need to be aware of. Obesity is always a factor with obstructive sleep apnea claims. Always, or any kind, central sleep apnea, mixed sleep apnea, whatever sleep apnea you have, they are always going to point at obesity. It's not a rateable condition, but you must address it because they're going to address it. Because this just kind of, it's so easy to get the diagnosis and the CPAP machine, so they're going to make it hard here. So they are definitely going to be dealing with obesity. So I got this little chart, and I'll put a link to this place. It's like a CDC website where you could type in your weight and your height, and it's all based on BMI, body mass index. So I just did mine. I'm 5 feet 9 inches. I weigh 210. My BMI is 31, which means I'm obese. So it doesn't matter if you like it or not, or you think it's an offensive word. You're just obese, right? I don't know if I was like a big fat piece of shit, morbidly obese when I was 240, 245 earlier this year, and I've been losing weight. But according to them, I'm way overweight. The healthy weight range would be between 125 and 169. Maybe I got down to 169 when I was in basic training, maybe, but when I got out. So that this just, I'm showing you this because very few people, have the same weight when they're 22 and they get out of the military and now they're 50. I don't know if I'm average or not, but, news flash, you're probably obese, get over it. While it is acknowledged that you claimed your obesity resulting in OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, was the result of your service-connected conditions, lumbosacral strain resulting in obesity, obesity is not medically known to result from lack of physical activity. That's just bullshit, but whatever. But really, it's a personal lifestyle choice leading to caloric intake exceeding the minimal basal metabolic requirement. Sorry, I got tripped up on the words there. So this is just kind of funny here. And then it goes on, and I'll get my mouse out of the way. So they're basically like, there's no medical evidence to support that if your back is all fucked up, then and you can't move, yeah, that doesn't cause weight gain. Like, I don't need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or anything. Like, of course it does if you don't move. Oh, no. You could sit there and not move and exercise at all. But if you eat right, like, what do maybe if I'm on an IV and I eat nothing, maybe that would work. But this is the way they're going to fight and blame obesity. So this is like, having a back condition is not medically known. And then they say there is no literature to support that mental health conditions can cause obesity, because he did a back condition and he did it with mental health. So they're like, yep, there's nothing on their books for a back problem causing obesity, and there's no literature to support mental health conditions. I would bet that there is, but regardless, you're going to get your private doctor to, rebut this whole thing, and his opinion is medical evidence. And I'm sure he has literature and stuff. It's out there. The examiner added that generalized anxiety disorder and sleep apnea are not medically related. OSA is a separate entity entirely from your service-connected mental health conditions and unrelated to it. The medical literature does not confirm a causal relationship between your psychiatric condition and obstructive sleep apnea, which involves pathophysiological changes of the upper airway during sleep. Despite these conditions commonly being comorbidities, the medical literature does not support a clear causal medical relationship. So they're, talking around in circles right here. And by the way, let me pop over to this. Have you been denied for a sleep apnea claim and or won, or got caught somewhere in the middle and then won, or you on appeal? Leave a comment below, and I'm curious to see if this language was in there. Did they go down this road with you? And then if they went down a different road, I'd like to see that. I'm going to do a couple of these sleep apnea ones because I know it's a big claim. It's a high value claim, and we need to make sure we get it done right. So basically, right here, therefore a nexus has not been established. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. I'm all over the board. I think I skipped over this whole paragraph possibly. But the bottom line here is the same. They say right there, a nexus has not been established. So that means that you did not provide a nexus from a private doctor, and we're not going to do it either. No nexus, claim denied. So if you just file a claim and, oh yeah, dude, everybody wins sleep apnea claims. Just toss her in there. Hope for the best. Spray and pray. If you do that and you do not provide a nexus, especially in a tricky sleep apnea claim, you're filing secondary to mental health stuff and or back stuff, you're going to have problems. So you're going to need to get a nexus. Finally, available medical literature also shows a lack of evidence demonstrating how medications used in the treatment of back and mental conditions such as service-connected lumbosacral strain and generalized anxiety disorder cause excessive weight gain. No nexus can be established. So this is them going a step further. They're introducing the obesity and beating you up about the obesity, and then they're going after the thing that you're going to use to win this with, which is the medications. And they're saying that doesn't work either, but that's complete bullshit. Medications are a known intermediate step. And that's exactly how you challenge this in a supplemental claim. But hopefully you're not doing a supplemental claim and you're doing this all up front so you don't have to be in the appeals process. You get a doctor, get a private doctor, get a nexus, get everything that you need. So when you file your claim, you address all these things. Here's how I'm filing it on a secondary basis. Here's my nexus. Here's how my nexus addresses the medications that are actually causing the obesity because I'm taking Prozac for major depressive disorder and also the obesity factor. So in this situation, you're going to want to have your doctor. This is where it's good to have somebody that understands the VA speak. But you're going to want to have him write or whatever he writes. You want to be looking for something like this. In my opinion, this veteran's obstructive sleep apnea was caused or aggravated by the Prozac, which he takes for his service-connected major depressive disorder. You only need one mental health claim. I would ditch the rest of that shit. Just pick one. I don't know which mental health condition you have. Combat PTSD. You don't need to list all of them. One of them's enough because this gives the doctor, more specifics. He can just say the Prozac that you take for this one mental health condition is plenty of medical evidence, and the nexus is clear. Also, this paragraph here, Prozac is known as a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It's called an SSRI. Weight gain is a known side effect. If you go Google Prozac, and you'll come up with like Wikipedia or, within your top 5 results, you'll find some information about Prozac, and then you could click on the side effects button, and weight gain is one of them. So not only, we're wondering about where the medical literature is. Like, hey, assholes, it says right on the, in the side effects, like, because you get the bottle. Doesn't say it on the bottle, but it says it with the instructions or the care instructions. May cause weight gain, and then they're like, yeah, blah 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 blah. What, I can't do the fast voice, but are you tracking me? So and then the doctor needs to give his theory. he may even provide a little medical literature. You know, he could go do a peer review like PubMed.com. Maybe he'll download a document or two. And since he's a doctor, he can go in and grab a medical journal review from another doctor, and then he can craft that into his nexus and say, not only do I know this, but Dr. Johnson does here. Here's his letter. And I also use Dr. Mark, just throwing names out there. So I believe it. And this is publicly available medical literature to support this. So look at your doctor and you're looking for how he's going to address the medications and the weight gain. You don't hide from the obesity, embrace the obesity. In sum, the examiner opined that while your obesity was a substantial factor in causing sleep apnea, and your sleep apnea would not have occurred but for your obesity, your service-connected is also, my opinion, lumbosacral strain and or GAD, less likely than not cause you to become obese. The less likely than not is the VA, that's the statement that hammers you. They never go, is due to. They usually go less likely than not. The one we're looking for, which is 50-50, and that's a tie goes to the veteran, is at least as likely than not. Above that is more than likely than not. And then the highest possibility or probability is due to. But again, you don't even need your doctor to go higher than at least as likely than not. But definitely don't want them going less likely than not. And that's a typical statement from a C&P examiner. But sometimes they're like, is not due to, if they're really being dicky. Consideration of service connection for obstructive sleep apnea. Due to obesity as an intermediate step between a service-connected disability and a current disability is not warranted. It is, but just didn't craft it right. And again, I don't even think there was a nexus on this, so I think that's why this is happening. So service connections for sleep apnea is denied. Here's some more law, same ones. Service connection may be granted for a disease. They kind of repeat this stuff again, so they kind of already said that. And then they come on to the favorable findings part. Oh, look. You made it back into your bed, mister. Now you say hi. Camera's up there. Say hi to everybody. Boy. I don't think he likes my my little Halloween thing over there. I'm into Halloween, by the way. Moving on. Favorable findings in this decision. When you guys read this, and when I first read it, it was like, well, if there's favorable findings, like, I don't get it. So favorable findings are things that kind of help you, but didn't help you in this case. Like, yeah, you had this, this, and this, but you're shit out of luck. Sorry. Go get more, basically. So it says you have been diagnosed with a disability. We already know sleep apnea. If you have a CPAP machine, you have to have a sleep study. You have to have a diagnosis. And the CPAP is the severity of symptoms. But this is the way they spell it out. So they're like, oh, yeah, we sent you to LHI, and it showed a diagnosis. I mean, that helps, but not for the purposes of overcoming the nexus portion. The claimed primary disability is service-connected. So they're saying that your major depressive disorder and all the other mental health disorders are service-connected. Well, yeah, no shit. That's why I filed obstructive sleep apnea secondary to them, because I've now learned the difference between secondary and direct service connections. So you are now service connected for these things. So, that's a favorable finding, but again, not for the purposes of overcoming this nexus issue and the obesity issue and the medications issue. Furthermore, it is not a disability per se. It's so funny they put per se in there. I wonder who writes all this stuff. So this one doesn't help either. Additionally, obesity may be an intermediate step between a service-connected disability and a current disability that may be service-connected on a secondary basis. So they're like, obesity is not diagnosable. It's not a disability on its own, but it may be a intermediate step. So that's what they're saying here. They're saying that obesity can be an intermediate step. But where you need to go is it's not the obesity, it's the Prozac that caused the obesity. Because the Prozac is something you assholes, give me for my major depressive disorder. So you're taking Prozac for major depressive disorder. Obesity doesn't have a rating on its own. It can't be an intermediate step, but you want to go farther because now you have to overcome this whole thing. This isn't your first rodeo now. Now you're coming back at them with the same claim, so you need more. You need more new and relevant evidence is what they call it. And this would qualify. If the obesity was addressed, again, I don't know how this claim was filed. I know nothing about this claim. I just know how to win it. So it sounds like the medications weren't addressed at all. So that would be a good way to insert new and relevant evidence in addition to just a nexus. To determine whether obesity is an intermediate step between a current service-connected disability and the development of another disability so that service connection on a secondary basis may be warranted, the following criteria must all be satisfied. And as you're reading through this is why it's so important to understand these things and, read through, understand all the things that they're actually saying. And if you're just pissed, which you will be when you get it because you got denied, make sure that you calm down and come back to it, 3 days later, a week later, or whatever, and read this until you understand it. If you can't understand it, then give it to somebody else that can understand it, like your wife. If that doesn't work, then get an attorney involved or get a doctor would be probably your best to get involved. Or get a veteran service officer. These are all people that, sign documents and HIPAA releases and are able to help you with your claim and look in your medical records and stuff like that.